Hey everybody, welcome to a new corner of the Earth OCU universe. This iteration of my hero is going to involve a lot from Marvel, DC, and surprisingly, Avatar: The Last Airbender, believe it or not. It took a while to figure out what I wanted to do with this bit, but I came up with something that I thought was fun. With that said, we're gonna have to go a bit far back before we meet Izuku Midoriya. And as always, there's gonna be some changes to the lore. For instance, in my hero's universe, most of the population has superpowers, which doesn't really work for Marvel and DC, but I wanted to keep something of the same vibe. So, in this reality, roughly 20% of Earth population is superhuman, but around 80% of Japan's specific population is superhuman. With that said, the power levels for my hero are pretty consistently outclassed by the superhero comics they're inspired by, which is going to shape this version of Japan among other things. By the way, quirks in this world are roughly just mutant powers from Marvel, so quirk users are mutants. They're basically the same in context anyway, so I figured that making a one-to-one would make sense. In terms of how mutants are treated in this universe, it's not nearly as dire as it is in Marvel. It's basically how DC treats metahumans. Society is generally fine with them, even if they're a little scared, and there are some extreme groups who want to hurt them, but they aren't the majority. Also, even though this world is partially influenced by Avatar: The Last Airbender, don't expect to meet Aang for a while. A different Avatar character is going to be taking the main character role for a little bit. Finally, and most importantly, you're going to be meeting a teenage version of one of the characters that Marvel has these days. A character who, in current continuity, is a baby. You're not going to be meeting her in this part, but just for future context, I wasn't able to get a picture of her as a teenager, because like I said, in current continuity she's a baby, and in alternate continuity she's an adult. There's really no wiggle room in between. So, I had to make art for her specifically using Canva. But, with that said, how about we all kick back, relax, and enjoy another section of the strongest Earth in the multiverse. Thanks for listening. The 7 capital cities of heaven. They existed as long as humanity had on Earth, growing stronger alongside them, though humanity was only recently starting to learn their existence. Mostly due to one place, the city of Kunlun, which had produced the mighty Iron Fist, one of the world's greatest champions. Each city, like Kunlun, produced their own champions, people capable of great things, even amongst the great cities in which they lived. But that city, Kunlun, isn't where our stories begin, nor are the immortal cities of the Undercity, or Kunzi, the land of magic. Rather, it begins with 4 immortal cities: Omashu, the land where people are born with chi that can manipulate the earth; Agnakela, the land where the descendants of Atlanteans resided, who could manipulate water and bolster their strength with their inner chi; the Nomad State, home to those who descended from the Olympians, protected by the sky god Zeus, who inherited chi and magical abilities that granted them domain over the air; and finally, Caldera, the home of great warriors of the flame who had mastered the flame of the dragon living inside of them. The 7 cities normally didn't interact. They were only forced to once a year interact with each other for a tournament to decide their hierarchy, one that for the past several decades had always been won by whatever Iron Fist had been in charge at the time. But things were different among these 4. They had actively encountered each other many times. Those cities had developed a sort of symbiotic relationship with each other, filling the roles that the others had missed. But then, everything changed.